All right, guys. Welcome back to the Master Series again. And today, sorry about that. Fuck. And today we're gonna do PD arrays. PD arrays. PD arrays. Shake your ass in the air if you want a PD array. All right. PD arrays. There's only a few of them that I use. I mean, there are a lot, but I'm just gonna go over the ones that work for me, and also the ones I've seen the most like growth with, and what usually works. Right. So, let's do order blocks, their value gap, IFEG, DPR, rejection block. Okay, so these are our five that we're gonna do. Um, these are usually the most like basic ones and most usually the ones people use the most, right? So let's start off with order blocks. So order block will be, say this is our trend, boom, boom, and we close through here, right? This would be our order block, right? And then we can expect to take an entry off this order block at the CE of it, targeting the high, stops below, blah, 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 right? So we'd want to see this, come back into this, and then move out, right? Because this space would be, let me turn this off. How do I? Okay, so this space would be our order block, right? So that's very, very easy. Here's it on the chart, right? So we have our up move, our down move, then our up move again, and then you see this would create our order block. You can do it from wick to wick or body to body. Usually I just like to mark out wick to wick, but if they're like humongous wicks, usually I like to stick to the body because price likes to react to it a little bit more. But you see how price comes back. It doesn't come back to the middle of it, but it comes back, touches the top of it, and then we get the move out, right? So they're very, very easy to spot. It's nothing crazy or too hard. They are a little bit harder to spot than some of the other ones, but they're very, very powerful. So I suggest you keep looking for them. So, like, example right here, move down, move up, we close through. See how we aggressively close through this? They're basically CISDs, right? So a CISD is a series of a series of candles, right? These are my candles that get closed through, which creates CISD right there. That was a horrible fucking drawing. Just pretend like it helped you, okay? So we see that we have these up candles, right? The most recent up candles. And then we see that we get close they get closed through with a bunch of displacement, right? So that's what creates our order block, and our order block would be these candles, right? So now you see that we tap the middle point. Why does it do this? It taps the middle point right there, and we get our move out, right? Now in chop, they're pretty much fucking everywhere, but you don't really use things in chop, right? So right here, right? We have move down, move up, close through, right? So we get that close through. We mark it out. Boom. Right here. We can mark it out like this too. Perfectly taps the middle point of it. Perfectly taps the middle point of it. Zero drawdown trade. 185 points, right? Beautiful trade. Just off of an order block, right? Here's it like one more time. This would create our order block right here. We just never come back and retest it. So, um, yeah, you can use them bearish, bullish, everything like that, right? This is an order block too. We just don't come back and touch it. Um, this is technically an order block too. We do come back and touch it. We get a little bit of reaction, but then we close through it. Um, we usually just like to respect these a little bit more with OTE and stuff like that too. And just use them as like re-entries if that makes sense. So like right here is perfect. Boom, we have our order block right there because we have our move down there and move up, and then we close through that move. Boom, we come back to that, and then we hit the CE of it, and boom, we move out. So something very, very, very easy, right? So now we'll talk about fair value gaps. So fair value gap is one of the most basic PD arrays that there are. So you'll have a box, another boom, 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 and then this gap in the middle would be your fair value gap, right? Now, if there's wicks closing through it like this and like this, then that's not a gap because there's no gap, right? So would be like this, right? Boom. So now we see we have that, and then we adjust accordingly. So that's our fair value gap. And price likes to come back into this range of fair value and likes to react out of it. So, for example, right here, right? We have our line right there and our line right there. There's a box of fair value. We mark it out. What does price do? Price comes into the oh shit, where's price comes into the gap and then we move out, right? And these are everywhere, quite literally like everywhere. Boom, right here. We have our gap in the middle. Our lines right there, lines right there. There's an empty space in the middle here. That is fair value gap. Comes in the middle. Boom, moves out. So these are very easy. There's also bullish ones. They're the exact same thing, just a different color, right? They can also be different types of colors as well. So if this candle, for example, let me try to find an example. Like they don't all have to be black candles and they all have to be blue candles, if that makes sense. As long as there's this gap, as long as there's this gap here, it's a valid order block, right? Or not order block, fair value gap. Because you have the line and you have the line and there's a gap between. That's what makes fair value gap. Now, if this candle was black, it wouldn't matter because there's still a gap. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't really matter um, if there is that. I mean, I guess it just doesn't happen that often, but on the occurrence it does. You're still able to take that. So get that out of the way. Okay, and then we'll do what else? The other ones I did. All right, I just completely removed those. That's sick. We'll do BPR since we just learned order blocks. So a BPR is a fair value gap inside of a fair value gap. Now these don't really happen that often, but when they do, they're very, very powerful, right? So yeah, one's right here. So we have our fair value gap right there, and then we look to the left, and there's a little fair value gap right there too. So they're basically overlapping fair value gaps, which is called a balanced price range. So price is basically at like a perfect auction and can do whatever it wants. So usually price likes to react out of this key area right here. So fair value gap right there and fair value gap right there. We come into the middle of it and then we get our move out, right? So boom, like quick 30 or 50 points just off of a little PD array. I'd say that's good motion right there. Boom. Um, they don't really come that often, but like I said, when they do, they're really, really powerful. So keep your eye out for them. Well, I don't even know if I can find another example. They really. Here. No. No, 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 no. Here's a small one, right? And then we have our fair value gaps overlined. But you see it comes in, respects it, and then we get our move out, right? They don't really happen that often. So if you see one, know they're the shiznizzle. But if you don't, then it's cool. Use fair value gap or order block, right? Um, speaking of order blocks and or speaking of fair value gaps and etc. IFEGs are inverse fair value gaps. So like for example, you mark out this fair value gap, boom, we inverse it right here. Entry could go right here, right? And then target, whatever. Boom, right? Hits TP. I don't personally use these, but a lot of people do. Very good strategy because it shows that the market is going the other way. So you can use these as confirmation or something like that. So boom, right here for value gap, inverse for value gap, we close through it. We come back and retest the inverse for value gap, and we dump, right? So a safer entry could be for you like this. We have an IFEG here. We completely close through it, and then instead of entering, as soon as we close through it, you can enter on the retouch of it to get a safer entry. Boom, target your 50 points, high risk to reward. Boom, right there, right? So IFEGs are pretty powerful. Just you got to use them in the right context and the right bias because obviously everything, especially PD rays, are not going to work if they're not in the right bias, right? So if you have the wrong order block or if you have the wrong fair value gap, then it's not going to work, right? So that's the whole point of IFEGs. Like since this fair value gap is here and we're bearish, we respect the gap, right? But you can see we have this fair value gap right here, and we completely blow through it because we're not bullish, we're bearish. So that's for value gaps, order blocks, IFEGs, BPR, and then we'll do rejection blocks. It's like the holy grail, I guess, of the new day trading space. So rejection blocks can be used in two different ways. So it can be used from liquidity liquidity sweeps and from high time frame PD and from high time frame PD arrays, like literally what we just learned, right? So let's replay this. So right here, right, we get a big sweep of liquidity right here at the top of that, right? So boom, this is our rejection block now. What we like to do is measure the 50% of it. So boom, put your stop loss right, or put your sell limit right there. Oh my god, I just got brutally edged. Holy shit. Fuck. Okay, I guess put it a little below. Boom, you get filled. You know the idea. Boom, high risk to reward, Powell strat. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You just have to be in the right bias, like I said. Being in the right bias makes everything basically work. So right here, we have a fair value gap. Boom, we're coming out of this fair value gap, and we leave this big rejection wick. Measure the 50% of it. Boom, boom, boom. Go a little pips below so they get filled. Comes back in. Boom. And then you get your move out, right? So rejection blocks can be used in multitude of ways. Don't use rejection blocks in chop. Don't use any PD ray in chop because it's not going to work, right? Just don't trade chop and you'll be fine. So this is technically a rejection block up here, but we never come and retest it. So unfortunately, you couldn't use that. But here's a rejection block right here because of this order block. We respect the order block with this wick right here, leaving a significant wick. I only really like to take rejection blocks if they have a significant wick. Like you have to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, we're really rejecting this point of interest in this spot. I'm very confident we're going to come back here and move out of this rejection block, right? So this little guy comes back in, touches it, and then we get our move out, right? Um, Same thing here. Big sweep of liquidity. We sweep this. Boom. We know this is a very volatile candle. Couple pips above. Hopefully gets filled. Boom. All right. Literally like $500 of drawdown. And then honestly, just target whatever the hell you want to target, I guess. That's just the method. Boom. You get filled. Very high risk to reward. Um, these are very, very good. You just have to use them and be very sparing with what you take, right? Because we're kind of chopping up here. Do you see how many wicks we have? Like you're gonna get stopped out a lot. So you just have to be careful with what you're taking and what you're doing. Usually I like going on the 5 minute to the 15 minute because they're a little more prominent and easier to see. Um, and usually when they connect, it's usually a little bit more powerful. But 5 minutes usually have been the sweet spot for them. So I'd stay on the 5 minute if you're really looking for them. Go to the 15 minute as well. But like right here, for example, there's a fair value gap. Boom. We clearly reject it. Like this is a clear rejection. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. We get a clear rejection out of it, right? So you can be confident that we're gonna come back in this bitch. Boom. Selling right there. Basically to the tick. Target the low right there. Boom. Very quick, easy dub, right? You know what I'm saying? So just keep an eye out for those. Those are really powerful and really cool. Um, Make sure there's like usually a PD array lined up with them. Sometimes, like the liquidity sweep ones, I would wait to be in a range. Like because example for this one, like you see how many wicks there are that look exactly like this wick. Like you don't know this is the top, right? Nobody knows it's the top, right? So just wait for either your like your 1 hour or 4 hour lines to get swept. Like I'm sure we swept a 1 hour high here, and that's why we have this. Maybe. Or actually we just have this order block. We had a 4-hour order block right here. So yeah, usually I generally just use them within PD arrays because, all right, we know we're in a PD array now. Cool. Now we're seeing this rejection wick close to the CE. Boom. All right, we get our move out. Cool. I'm going to take a stab down to whatever, right? And then boom. So they are a little bit tricky sometimes, but the only time I really use them with liquidity sweeps is if we're like kind of in a range. So just be careful with that. Any other time where you're like trying to bottom tick like the entire thing, I would kind of like this, for example. Like we have these two wicks down here, which are sweet, right? But we look to our left, I'm pretty sure we have a some type of, yeah, there's a fair value gap right here. So we're in the fair value gap and we're getting these wicks, so I'm more confident to be like, okay, this is our rejection block. Cool. Right. Holy, oh, we came back, whatever. But anyways, you get the idea. Um, you can also have rejection blocks out of rejection blocks because they're technically like this one was beautiful. We actually came back into it. Rejection block out of the fair value gap and we move out. However, it just wasn't in the right bias, so we kind of got fucked on it. But you can see this. We retap the rejection block, creating another rejection block, and we retap this rejection block so we can use this as an entry, which is hella confusing, but it makes sense. It makes sense, right? So here's a mini trade that you could have took to. We have S&T at the high. We react off of rejection block again. Boom. So then you can take a trade off of this, targeting the low or something, go break even, you probably get break even. Yeah. But yeah, they're really easy. Um, and just make sure when you're taking trades that you have a PD array aligned with them because they're very powerful. So even if you're taking an OTE trade, like pretty much what everybody else is doing, or at least the model you're learning deals with, right? There's a rejection block in your space that you're looking at. Boom, you mark it out. You see we get another rejection block in that bitch, right? So boom, we get a rejection block. Something else you can also do is limit the body as well. The body is also significantly um, very touchy. So boom, and then your stop would just be at that high, right? So very, very tight stop loss. Target the middle of this or whatever. And I mean, it fucking just printed, right? So just make sure you have an imbalance within your OTE and you really should be good. It's not rocket science. It's just, you kind of just got to see them over time, right? Here's an IFVG, inverse fair value gap. We touch this. This is within OTE, so you're allowed to limit it if you like. Boom, right on the money. Cool. We get a good reaction. Easy money, right? You're off for the day. So, yeah, just make sure you look around for them. There's a lot of videos as well in the Discord channel about PD arrays. Feel free to look them up on YouTube as well and everything like that. So they're very easy, and a lot of things are just sometimes you just got to look at them if you feel what I'm saying. So go out there, watch some YouTube videos. I know TGR has some good ones on like PD arrays themselves, like just buy for value gaps, order blocks, rejection blocks, stuff like that. So go check those out. But yeah, hopefully this helped you guys. And the fourth video should be coming tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet, but stay tuned. Happy trading.